back to the Four Hauntsmen. It has been quite a minute since we last spoke to everybody, but we're here today with Joey.
Hello.
Paul.
Hello.
And this is Kyle. When we last spoke to everybody, we were still at the point where a couple of houses weren't confirmed yet for Halloween Horror Nights, and now here we are, 3 days removed from the opening night of Halloween Horror Nights 28.
Snap. It has been a while, I guess.
It's been a minute. We've had a couple of things that have popped up called real life. And, we're here now. We're going to cover a lot of ground. So sit back, strap yourself in. This might be a good way to kill some time while you're in line for Stranger Things.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween Horror Nights, a little bit about Howl-o-Scream in Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And it's also opening this week in Tampa. Screamageddon, and whatever else we feel like talking about, because you know what? This is our show.
Are we going to talk about iOS 12? Because that's pretty scary.
iOS 12, yes. You know what the scary thing? After checking in the Cabana Bay and being up all night, I waited until 3 o'clock in the morning to order an iPhone for the first time ever at that release point with pre-sale. So I have a little thing planned for that ties into horror. That'll be coming up on the View from the Cheap Seats Network.
Ooh.
So, but
look at that.
Let's get into it. Halloween Horror Nights. We had a thing that happened last week that kind of threw a wrench into our Halloween Horror Nights plans. What was shaking there, Paul?
Yeah, so, Hurricane Florence, and I don't want to make light of it, because ultimately Hurricane Florence canceled flights out of Virginia Beach, and I was not able to make it down for opening weekend of Halloween Horror Nights. I debated coming earlier, but at the time when that decision would have to be made,
They have pills for that, by the way.
Yeah. But at the time that decision would have to be made, I felt kind of guilty about leaving my family in what could have potentially been a Category 4 hurricane. So flights were canceled, hotels were canceled. I've rescheduled. I'll be down there mid-October instead of opening weekend. I'm sorry to have missed opening weekend, but Hurricane Florence, thankfully up here did very little. There are still some remnants that are popping out of it because it's still a tropical storm, and it's like a series of storms that it's still actually affecting areas of Virginia, but in general, thankfully, very little damage up here. But the damage with me is done. I've missed opening weekend of Halloween Horror Nights. However, two horsemen were able to make it.
That's like 50%.
50%. We're at a 50% success rate.
Yeah, so it was not the same without you there, or without your foreboding presence. But thoughts and prayers are going out to the folks in North and South Carolina that are really suffering at this point from Hurricane Florence. So I'm glad that it didn't do as much projected damage to Virginia Beach and to you guys, over that way that some other folks had. But Halloween Horror Nights, it was a sold out edition on Friday night, and I believe on Saturday night as well. I think it was probably better than Universal had expected to ever have, but it also turned out as a result into what seemed to be a lot of scrambling and a lot of operational gaps or issues. So I think we have the scales here of is this the best Halloween Horror Nights ever compared with how do we manage the crowds that we're bringing in now because of Halloween Horror Nights? And it was a tough go on Friday night, to be quite honest. It was a lot different than other year opening nights. Joey, any initial thoughts?
Yeah, it was crowded. No, I liked it, but the first night was definitely it was a nightmare. I mean, that was the first time ever with Express that I wasn't able to do everything. I left early. The weather didn't help at all. And,
yeah, that's right. It was 105 degrees at the start of the event, real feel.
Yeah.
And like 98 straight up temperature. So
it was brutal. Saturday night though was better-ish. But I mean, I dodged. I think the biggest traffic jam was that exit coming out of Trick or Treat and Seeds of Extinction, and we dodged that entirely Saturday night. I don't know if they fixed it.
They did fix it. So there were many complaints, and for folks that were not able to attend the event, if you went to the event last year where the house location was for Ash vs. Evil Dead, that's just a little further beyond that is where they placed their 10th house for this year. So I think we're talking about old parade building and I think new parade building. And the lines to get out of that area, which is a super long walk to begin with, merged together to form one super line. So if you were going to either of those houses, it was taking you at least 20 to 30 minutes just to exit the house. And in fact, when we went through Seeds of Extinction, we actually couldn't complete the house at a normal pace because we got stuck a couple of times with folks not able to spill out of the exit because the line was backed up so long. So, but I know that they fixed the merge points and the express points to enter so that wouldn't happen again. But wow.
Yeah, it was nothing but, I mean, Saturday night too, my wife showed up and she bought the regular just month-long pass without Express and paid for Express that night. Only got to do 3 houses because my father, like her dad, his pass, he has like was it $600? What's the highest end one? $500 or $600?
Yeah,
and every house they went in initially basically told him it was invalid. And they wanted to take his pass away. They finally went to guest services, waited an hour and a half. And, her majority of her night was wasted doing that. They wouldn't even give her back, front of the line for another night. So there's just a lot of drama going on for us that weekend.
Yep. And I think that, probably, I mean, aside from other things like in Carnival Graveyard, I think part of the house fell apart at one point. People got dumped.
I was
Saturday
there.
Night. Yep.
I was in that group. Yeah. That took about 30 minutes.
And, last but not least, for the operational things at least, opening night, Stranger Things, the line grew to such a mass that if you've gone to the event in prior years, you kind of, know that if you get in line before the park closes, it's kind of like in before the cut. They'll finish out the line for the rest of the people that are in it for the night. And the line was averaging somewhere like 2-3 hours, I think, at that point. And people were in line for about an hour and a half, but come like 1:30 in the morning, they told everybody, have a great night. Line, park's closed, get out, and that they had a major issue with that. So I think that what the solve for that is to close the lines earlier in the night. So if you're looking to do Stranger Things and your strategy is to go there last, at the night, and you're in the regular line is going to be capped at an earlier time in the night. So there were plenty of things to work through, but again, I think it's, those were problems that anybody would want to have because, they're basically Scrooge McDucking it in over in the offices at Universal at this point. So let's talk about the content though. What did you like?
I liked my number, so neck and neck for me, and I think this is for a lot of people, Poltergeist and Sinister Cinema. Those to me are like 1 and 2. Poltergeist probably number 1. And number 3 would be Scary Tales, and followed closely by Stranger Things.
Okay.
That's top of my list.
Yeah, I think, IP-wise, Poltergeist is the top of the list, and that was the sleeper. I think that was one that, he kept saying it was going to be good. And, I'll tell you, honestly, I think the house is much better than the movie itself.
Oh.
It's incredible. That is an experience to go through.
Yeah, I mean, the house is the last 15 minutes of the movie, like the best part of the movie.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. Everything is perfect from set design down to the actors, to the puppets, to the props. It's absolutely amazing. I think non-IP wise, my favorite house is Slotta Cinema. awesome from the queue all the way going through the house. Really fun ride, especially for people that like classic B type horror movies. You're seeing the posters of the movies that you're supposedly walking through, and then seeing the creatures or monsters from those movies as you're going through those sections of the house. That was a hell of a lot of fun. But I think my third favorite house, I mean, it starts to get really difficult because they're so good this year. I really like Dead Exposure. That was legitimately the first house that I was scared to go through because it's such a difficult house to see in. It's basically all strobes, so if you're, kind of Homer Simpson or Kramer, you're going to be laying on the floor in convulsions. But there's a amazing subway car scene in that house, and when things are jump scaring you, there's so much stuff to distract you and disorient you as you're going through that it's pretty terrifying to go through that house. Scary Tales I liked a lot also. There's some really great one-liners in that house, including the where's your wizard now? Unbelievable bungee action in the house, and it's like a dream come true if you like any of the classic fairy tale type things. And Carnival Graveyard, also absolutely amazing. So many Easter eggs in the house. So many Easter eggs, from Jack stuff to Bone Daddy from last year, and the actors were amazing in that house also, I think. So those were the things that I liked. I mean, Stranger Things, how could you not like it? It's this year's Aliens versus Predator.
I didn't like it the first time I went through it. The second time I loved it.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not scary, but the one thing that they did in Stranger Things this year that they haven't done in prior years, with like Walking Dead, is that they cast actors that look very similar to the actors that are in the actual TV show, and they're spread through the house. The actress that they had playing 11 was spot on. The same thing with Dustin. It was just really, really well done. The set design is gorgeous in the house. Again, not necessarily something scary, but what a promotional tool for the TV show.
Wait, is there actually an 11 in there that's alive?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's the last scare of the house.
I thought that was a dummy.
There is a dummy, and then there's an 11 after the dummy.
So the very, very last thing, right, where the hand comes up? Oh, man, the first night we saw that, she didn't do anything. And we kept staring at her like, is she alive or is she a mannequin? Wow, that's insane. I thought she was, oh.
Yeah, there's two. So there's one that's in the room that kind of reminds me of like the Men in Black type glass encased room.
The classroom scene?
Yeah. And then
that one's fake.
Yeah, and then there's an actress in there. See,
yeah, she's a dead ringer. All those kids, I mean, they're not kids. They're obviously over 18, I'm assuming, but ridiculous, like, faces, everything. They look just like them.
Yep.
Yeah, Hollywood.
I didn't have, a lot to complain about. Halloween 4 is, it's the house of like 30 Michael Myers. There's a lot of Michael Myers in there. There's Icebox Mike is the most memorable Mike, and there's like they did a Pepper's Ghost type trick with one of the mics in the house also. That was kind of effective, but he kind of looks like the poster for that movie Eraserhead, or like it's kind of like this Afro type wig. That's Michael Myers. So really kind of fixated on that. Blumhouse, I know I am very, very much in the minority on this, but I mean, I love Happy Death Day, and I saw some people complaining like, the house is the same room over and over again, and
that's the movie.
Yeah, that's what the movie was. But I had a lot of fun in that house all the way up to the point where that part ends and it goes in the purge, and then you're like, damn, now I got to walk through like 4 or 5 more rooms with people with guns. But
yeah, purge. I mean. I didn't think I thought there was far worse this year than Blumhouse. The Purge part of it is that could have been anything. I mean, it looks good. Some of the parts, I'm like, wow, this looks great. But like you said, it's just the same guys in Dollar Tree masks jumping out at you with plastic guns. Plus, I saw Happy Death Day, so walking through it, I was like, yeah, this is the movie. I mean, it has the cupcake, or it had a cupcake.
Well, it didn't have the cupcake when I went through it because some asshat stole the cupcake off the floor. So, there's that.
I look at Halloween, though. That had to have been a last-second decision. I honestly really feel like it was supposed to be the new movie because when you go through Halloween 4, it's like a Hollywood maze. It's just black walls and last second. I mean, the end scene where he's getting shot at, it's just junk piles in the room. If you look up, you see all of Shrek, and it's just this can't be right. This can't be right.
The only house, I mean, and this is again where I think I'm way off compared to the majority here. I did not really enjoy Seeds of Extinction. I think, it's basically, to me, it was kind of a house. Some of them, well, let me put it this way. Almost all of the characters have like ghillie suit type costumes on, which, I mean, nobody loves Man is Bush more than me, right, in the scare zones. But some of them have like hand puppets that were kind of funny to me. Kind of reminded me of like, Feed Me Seymour. But then some of them have these mouths on the ghillie suit, like right in their junk area. And the mouths look like the lips from the classic like Twizzler TV commercials from the 90s, where it's like, It's hysterical.
They look like Krang from Ninja Turtles. They're just bad. Yeah, Anna, like think of Oogie Boogie, but with Krang on his junk. That's...
And everybody's raving. I don't know. I mean, like I said, we got stuck in that house the first time around, like right where the pipes are like drizzling the rain on you too. I mean, it was not a great experience to me.
It was supposed to be a mall. I never got that feeling. And
no, I just wanted to leave.
Yeah, I think Mary nailed it when she goes, they look like chicken heads for the hand puppets that everybody had. Yeah. And they really do look like just chicken puppets on hands, just gawking at you.
I think that I put that at the bottom of the list. That's the number 10 for me. Trick or Treat I liked. I don't know if I liked it better than the Scare Zone because I like the whole concept of it being open air, but the house was great. We saw this amazing house out in L.A. or Long Beach for Midsummer Scream. And that house was very compact, where it was just like, 3 or 4 rooms with the characters kind of jumping out. But the costumes were in line, with what we saw in this Trick or Treat. I don't think the costumes were any better. They reused the throw-up kid, that entire prop, like, kind of sitting on the steps, and the school bus is in there. And it's really a great, tribute to the movie. But I wasn't overwhelmed with it. The other thing about Trick or Treat that kind of threw me off is that it was keep in mind we just said it was like 105 degrees, real feel outside. That house had no air conditioning.
Yeah.
So the actors must be dying of like heat exhaustion in that house, unless we just went when the air wasn't working at that particular time. But wow. So there was another house that I couldn't wait to get through because it was so damn hot inside of it.
I went to Trick or Treat once. I gotta redo it because the first time I went through it, I was just kind of like, it looks great, but I don't know if it's really doing it for me. But I said the same thing about Stranger Things. Then look what happened.
Paul, any thoughts on houses?
Oh, I loved them all. No, I saw some videos, and as far as what I'm looking forward to. Carnival Graveyard, I'm really looking forward to seeing in person. That one was the top of my hype list even before going in. But I gotta say, and we talked about this on the show, Poltergeist. I was cautiously optimistic, but it seems to be universally loved. So I'm actually really, really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it was really good. Carnival Graveyard has this one scare where they have like these oil cans that have a chain going through them, and there's like a clown or a carny that throws the cans into each other right above your head as you're going through. So when that house was evac the other night, I was like, oh my God, please tell me like the giant oil can did not like fall on somebody's head or something, because it's not a scare actor scaring you. My thought is like I'm scared of needing to like go to Morgan and Morgan or something after I go to Halloween Horror Nights because of the way these things are strung up.
No, what happened was we walked in Carnival Carnage. We got right to the marquee, and then we stopped inside the maze, like underneath that little awning. And 3 minutes later, we just started seeing everybody like push forward, pointing towards the door. And so everyone was kicked out. We were standing right by the entrance. I won't name names. We were there with internet royalty. And people were saying metal fell, like some metal piece just like slammed down, didn't hit anybody. And the ops, everyone in the line started asking the ops people, and they were just giving the usual, they won't tell you what it was, but they were kind of saying like, technical difficulties. But everybody who was in the front was saying like, I don't know which metal piece because there's several above you, but something just flew straight down. So then you just kind of saw an engineer go in halfway through, and they let everybody back in.
You know,
and I mean,
I do want to say that Joey just referred to it as Carnival of Carnage, which just brings to mind that they just need Insane Clown Posse at this event.
Oh, gee, I'm naming everyththing wrong.
You're a juggalo. Just admit it.
It's called the other one Sinister Cinema. Yeah, I've had a long weekend. I thought the Carnival of Carnage, I thought aesthetically it looks amazing. It's very, very close quarters. It's kind of reminded me of The Walking Dead the last time they did it, where everything's in front of you. It's in your face.
Oh, really? Because, it's funny in the concept art and the photos, it certainly seems like a big open, like junkyard. But I guess not.
Mm-mm. I thought it was super close quarters. I think the best thing in there for me was there's a tunnel of love. And
so cool.
You got to watch them because they come out. They each do like their little... stab at you and turn, then they lock eyes and they just start making out and then they disappear again.
It's such a cool house. There's so many things in there. The giant Bone Daddy head is awesome, and they've got the Jack bag from the show 25, and so many cool things. Jack, Jack push. No, it's a good thing. Like I went through and I was like, wow, the value of my bag is going up now.
Yeah.
But they have scare zones this year, and it's on paper. It looked like the scare zones were going to be like probably the strongest scare zones that they've ever had, right? So we've got Revenge of Chucky, Killer Clowns, The Harvest, Twisted Tradition, and Vamp 85. And I am a huge scare zone person, and the zones. I think that after going through them 3 nights and spending a good chunk of time in them, it's really hit and miss, right? So I'm going to start with, we'll go in order here. What's on their website? Revenge of Chucky. Everybody was wondering if Chucky's Insult Emporium would be making its way over to the East Coast, and they do have the setup for, Puppet Chucky in the zone, and a couple times you can see the guy behind the thing. I'm forever mystified as to how they're able to hear the crowd so clearly to respond back and forth because it's so loud in that zone. But, that's what I end up like focusing on because there's not a whole lot else to focus on in that zone. The puppet is beautiful. It operates really well. It interacts. It is a PG scare zone. So anything that from the Hollywood version doesn't necessarily apply here, or even what you would expect Chucky to say or do from the movies. He's a well-behaved Chucky in this zone. And I think probably the things that he says the most are things like, "Aw, man, aw, man, aw, man." I think.
Yeah, he's very 2018. I don't want to jump the gun and Mickey's Not So Scary, but I was there last night, and one of the things I was looking forward to is the Haunted Mansion because all the videos and photos I saw looked like Madame Leota or somebody sitting on the lawn.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, she's just like a heckler that makes fun of everybody in line.
Yep.
And she was more insulting than Chucky.
It's true. So Chucky, he basically asks people, like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And you're like, "Oh, well, I sell milk at the store." "Oh, really? Yeah, figures." And you're like, that's not really a very good put down. Like there's more meat to be had there, and I think that can really develop if they take the muzzle off, or the restraint bar. The rest of that zone, though, oh my God, like it is not. It is the opposite of good. Let's put it that way. So there's really, let me put it this way, across all of the zones, there's not a lot of scaring that's going on at all this year. Everything is, it's kind of like buying the highest end Mustang and then, buying it in automatic and never wanting to open it up. And everything is gorgeous. And it has the capability to go max, and it just doesn't. I mean, the other stuff that's in the zone, I know that there's still some other props that haven't come out yet for that zone also, but, they've got these Care Bear looking guys, and I guess they're workers from the zone. And it's actually the owner of the toy company that walks around. It's just that we call them like suit and tie guy. And there's, there's like a mannequin and a barrel of monkeys and stuff. There's no scaring that's happening for the most part. And then, Chucky insults people for like 7 to 10 minutes or somewhere in that range. And then he possesses everybody. He does this, it's absolutely ridiculous. And all of the rest of the cast in the street are all like raising their arms up in the air and like they're being possessed. I can't express what a disappointment it is to go through that zone as to what it could be versus what it is.
No, it was the first thing I saw was a guy in a diaper, and
that's right, the big baby guy.
Yeah, I mean the barrel of monkeys. I was like, that's cute. But the doll. I mean, now I'm coming from years of Hollywood having a Chucky that I was afraid to walk by it within even 30 feet. Because he'll just rip on you. I mean, he was vicious. So this one, I mean, I was standing right by the stage. I'm like, he's just handing out participation ribbons. Like, there's nothing bad about this guy. So that one. I mean, I didn't see most of the scare zones, but Killer Clowns was a giant photo op, which is fine because they look amazing.
They're too big and weighty to be able to actually do any scaring.
Yeah, there's nowhere for them to hide either, and they are big, which I think be a problem if they were ever in a house. The Vamp 85 to me the music was just amazing, especially when the ball drops and the greatest band of all time plays. But all the others, I mean, the scare zone in the beginning of the park, they have like a pumpkin on stilts. I remember that, and everything else I think was just like chainsaws.
Well, yeah. So here's the good thing. So I do agree with Killer Clowns. It's a photo op. It's Killer Clowns to me looks amazing, and I saw some people commenting on our videos and saying like the masks look ridiculous, like they're from Party City and everything. I don't get that.
No.
I mean, I think that those characters were designed and created with true love for that movie from the people that work at Universal, and it looks spectacular. They just can't move around, so there's very limited action. But the Revenge of Chucky, that stuff could be changed or flipped around on a dime. If you tell these guys, like, the point is no longer to be interacting with people, but to scare the hell out of people. Put the pedal down on the floor and let's get the scares up. Vamp 85 is it's a fun zone. I liken it to Pleasure Island, where the countdown to New Year's Eve was happening all the time, but you have all of these vampire type characters that at first glance you'd say, there goes Vampire Michael Jackson or Vampire Prince and so forth, but it's really not those characters. It's the inside track is that the characters that you see in the zone are just playing that they're doing a homage to their heroes at the time. So it would be like if you were in the 80s and somebody was a huge Michael Jackson fan and they decided to dress up like Michael Jackson to attend the New York festivities. So that way they're not necessarily performing or portraying those characters in person. So it's fun. It's until last night I didn't think Vamp was scary necessarily, although, MVP showed up last night in that zone when I was there. And, it's one more that I think, they could really put the pedal to the floor, and they could get a lot of good scares in that zone, especially if people are lured into thinking it's like selfie land and the characters turn around and scare people instead. But it's another fantastic area with the props and everything. And Twisted Tradition, I thought looked gorgeous also. It's the usual type of pumpkins in the trees and stuff like that, but the costumes are phenomenal. They have a couple of guys that are on stilts that light up completely, and a couple of guys on the floor that have jack-o'-lantern heads, and their heads light up like they're actually lit up like jack-o'-lanterns. Unbelievable, and I think it's really flying under the radar as far as zones that are at the park. And then the Harvest in the front, like you said, there's like 2 stilt guys, and there's, instead of man as bush, it's man as haystack. I don't know why they even put that zone out to begin with. Like, to me, it's more of a nuisance now to walk through because the props are there and the sidewalks are kind of blocked a little bit to be able to get from one part of the park to the other. It's not very good. And then roamers. So you have the clowns in the back, which are kind of like the roaming carnies that are tied loosely to Carnival Graveyard. The clowns are the only zone, in my opinion, that are actually actively working to get scares from people constantly. People are screaming back there by Springfield again. So it is certainly, I think, the most scary scare zone. And the costumes look great. They're not the same clown costumes from the prior years. They invested a lot, I believe, in costumes for those clowns this year. Everybody fell asleep now.
Yeah.
Paul went out to get a pizza.
I wish. Pizza sounds great.
Pizza fries.
Pizza fries.
I did not touch pizza fries. Everything had a line. The first night, food, beer, everything was just, it was ridiculous. Second night, calm down.
The first night, when we went to Fast Food Alley, over in Springfield to try to get something quick, the line was like out the door to be able to get food. It was a madhouse. I've never seen anything like it. But then when people were going to pay, the registers went down and people were ringing things up by using calculators and taking cash only at the register. That's how busy it was, and the operational issues. So we'll bring this all the way around here.
Mm-hmm. Also, if I make a recommendation, do not get any of those specialty drinks in those square cups. They are disgusting. It's bad.
I haven't had a drop of alcohol at Halloween Horror Nights this year. But
I spent more time drinking water the first night.
I did buy, they have a $30 Coke Freestyle cup. That's, you can buy it if you have a frequent fear or ultimate pass. It's good for every single night of the event and the daytime leading up to it until, I think, November 5th. So it's $30, but you're refilling it the entire month, month and a half, for free, essentially just for the cost of the cup. And, at least not having to spend like $5 or $6 every time that you want to buy water or Powerade or soda or something. So
those Powerades add up. I got 2 of them. They were $4 each.
They do add up. So, but in any event, that's that's Horror Nights so far. So that was opening weekend, and I know the first comments that people normally have, like as far as the operation things go, and everybody rolls their eyes and says like, "Well, it's opening night or opening weekend." They've been doing this 27 years before this. There's a reason why they win best haunted attraction every year, because they're the best, and they're you learn from what you do year over year. And I think that's why this year there was so much frustration that when opening night happened the way that it did, that you plan for the worst and hope for the best, and that didn't seem to be the case. But I am confident that at least crowd control will get better. But if folks are looking to come to this event for the rest of the run, expect to be waiting an awfully long time. And if you're looking at Stay and Scream, it's not that great of an option for the front houses of the park. If you think you're going to get out of Stay and Scream and run over to Stranger Things and be able to knock that out really quick in the beginning. Stranger Things at opening for Stay and Scream the last couple of nights has basically been, an hour to 2 hours wait out of the gate. So
it's the equivalent of it's trying to rope drop Avatar and Snow White at the same time. It's that thing is just the horde. Just you're not going to get to it. Trust me. Even if you do with Express, my advice, because the first night, if you use Express right away on Stranger Things, you're going to have a wait because everybody and their mother runs there. The second night, we went around 9:30, 10, which I think was the prime time because most of the people that have already wanted to do it or had Express already wasted it. And you're right at that point before they start selling the new batch of Express that starts at 10 p.m. So second night, we got in there within 10 minutes. The first night, we waited 45.
So we're going to completely go down a different lane here. Keep it in Orlando for a moment. Mickey's Not So Scary started up. For everybody that also complained that Halloween Horror Nights was starting too early this year, Mickey's Not So Scary started a full month earlier than Halloween Horror Nights this year, and it started in August. I went opening night, was also sold out, super packed. I had a fun time. It's essentially the same event that it's been every year, except they added like a live actor in Pirates of the Caribbean, and they shut the lights off in Space Mountain, and they had a different lighting package for the teacups. But Joey went last night. What did you think?
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there. Actors in Pirates.
Well, there's one actor that they're looking for, but there's a guy that's looking for that actor. So on the ride itself is only one guy.
No, well, okay, the ride itself, there's one guy, and he was actually awesome last night. And then you have the guy when you board, and then there was two of them in the prison cell. So, it was quite the Shakespearean piece last night. Space Mountain in the dark, greatest of all time. I cannot say enough good things. I did it. See, when you went, it was crowded. Last night when I went, it was pretty close to when I did the After Hours, the Magic Kingdom, where there's nobody in the park. Because last night, everything was almost a walk-on. And Space Mountain was like 5 minutes, so we did that a few times. That was amazing. The teacups, I could care less. I did it anyway. But Pirates, to me, was great. Haunted Mansion, I liked a lot. I've never been to it, so I can see where everybody's coming from. Didn't really get to catch the parade. Caught it from a distance. My biggest disappointment was I really wanted to see the Headless Horseman. That's kind of why I wanted to go more than anything. I got my photo in front of the Haunted Mansion, and I refused to pay $70 for it, so see what happens. I liked it.
You didn't get to see the Headless Horseman ride down before the parade?
No, we were having a how do I put this? Half my group. I went with my wife, my in-laws, and my brother and my sister-in-law, and someone in our group got food poisoning, I guess. So there was kind of those moments where we had to hang back and make sure they were okay or figure out what they want to do next. And at that time is when the first parade started. So missed that completely. Then the second time, well, the second parade was actually, and the fireworks actually postponed last night because of the lightning and thunder. So couldn't really predict when that was going to start. We just kept going on Space Mountain. But now I just have more to look forward to next time.
Excellent. Yeah. The parade, generally, the biggest draw of that event, the parade and the fireworks for Mickey's Not So Scary. Did you guys get a lot of candy at least?
Yeah, they, I kind of stopped caring after a while because I didn't want to carry anything. But at the end of the night, they just started filling bags, and instead of just putting candy in your bag, they just offer you a full bag of candy.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, they were just trying to get rid of it. I mean, we went on Peter Pan because Peter Pan was a walk-on, and I mainly wanted to see the bedroom with Tinkerbell and all that stuff because I had never seen it before. And we were kind of backed up. I'm like, what's the holdup? We come around the corner, and they're just sitting there with, bags of candy, trying to force people to take it with them. So my brother and sister-in-law, yeah, they got enough candy for trick-or-treaters for the next 2 years. They're well off.
I'm still eating my candy from a month ago. I still have half of a bag left.
It's good. I mean, I just kept picking Starburst whenever I would go up with them. They'd try to give me a pile. I'm tossing stuff back in the bin. Did not try any of the food offerings. Yeah, I didn't do any of that.
You are a horrible man on the street.
Yeah, well.
So, by the way, Paul was also supposed to be at Mickey's Not So Scary this week.
Yeah, and to hear that mostly everything was a walk-on.
Oh, yeah.
Not at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, but in Disney Springs, Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, I'm looking at Twitter right now, has like Halloween drinks, limited edition Forbidden Apple and Autumn Smash cocktails with like little Forbidden Apple glow cube things in them.
Yeah, if here's a tip for anybody that wants the glow cube. You can buy a soda and still get it.
So there you go. Get your glow cube at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar.
And I would stay away from the Autumn Smash drink. This is all coming from a very reliable source deep within that building. Trust me.
Jock Lindsay himself.
Oh, yeah. But if you can actually buy a bottled water and get the light bulb, it's $4 on top of whatever drink. So, I mean, people come in all the time.
Huh, good to know.
Yeah, make sure your bulb actually turns off, though, when you get it. Otherwise, send it back. There's been a lot of problems with that.
This is a lot of information about glow cubes.
Well, you know, the viewers, the listeners want to know.
There are people that come in specifically for that key. I'm sure I know where they all end up, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. You know, I love Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I think it's a great event. Like, you know, Kyle has mentioned this in his video. There's not many changes from year to year. But I think I still tend to enjoy it. I'm sorry that I missed out on it this year. I doubt I'm going to go to it when I'm there in October. But I'm glad they at least made some changes this year with the addition of the Pirates thing and the Space Mountain thing. You know, it sounds like they're at least trying to inject some new life into it. Not that they need to, right? Like, it doesn't matter. It's going to be crowded no matter what. So at least they're putting forth an extra effort.
It was, I mean, for my first time going, I definitely think it's for people that want to dress up, mainly adults.
So it's like a furry party?
What happened to the costume?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I think when we were younger, you're always like, you always see pictures or videos of like Magic Kingdom, for example, or the castle, and you're like, I want to see that one day. For me, I wanted to see the Haunted Mansion lit up with a heckler on the lawn. So, and I wanted to see the Headless Horseman.
I can't believe you missed it. You need to go back.
I gotta go back, and I think that may or may not happen. I don't know. Definitely not going to stay on site, though, for it. That was horrible. Ugh.
What do you mean stay on site? Like you stayed in a hotel that evening?
Yeah, we did 3 nights at Cabana Bay, which I think is an amazing resort hotel at that price point. I can't say enough good things about it. And then last night we checked out of Cabana Bay and we got a room. We went to another Valley Resort, Art of Animation, and
that's not so. I don't know. Is that a value? I thought that's like a moderate. No.
No, that's a value.
It's
that's
considered
like
a value, but it's the most expensive value. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the highest value. And when I walked into that room, it's like I accidentally walked into some 5-year-old girl's birthday party or something. It just, I could not get away from the Little Mermaid if my life depended on it. The bed was like a foot away from the door. I'm listening to kids on the other side of the wall get ready at 6 a.m. to go to the parks.
Yeah.
Pool, we had a pool outside of our door, not the main pool, but we had one. We were like, let's go cool off. A third of the pool's lifeguard training, so they're saving, plastic dolls from drowning. I had to walk everywhere to do anything from the bus stop, and I'm like, I get it at the price point. I get it for what it is. It's a bed, but the same price point that we all kind of looked at each other within minutes of being there. We should have just stayed at Cabana Bay and Ubered to Disney. So,
yeah, it's because it's only probably about a $20 Uber.
Yeah. That Lazy River's worth it. I mean, if you can get in there when I don't curse it with bad weather, that Lazy River is amazing.
It's true. So let's talk about bad weather and its impact on scare events, because Paul attended the intended opening weekend of Howl-o-Scream at Busch Gardens Williamsburg this past week, last night actually, right?
Yeah, actually. So Busch Gardens Williamsburg was originally intended to start their Howl-o-Scream event on Friday, September 14th, with a past member preview. So they have annual memberships, and that was Friday night was just for them. Then it was going to officially open to everyone on Saturday, and there was actually a media event on Thursday. Well, due to the preparations they had to make for Hurricane Florence, basically, and the threat of Hurricane Florence, the media event Thursday was canceled, and the past member event was canceled, and then Saturday, they spent the time prepping for the hurricane, not actually setting up scare zones and outdoor things. So they weren't fully operational, but they still opened up on Sunday. And so what was opened up on Sunday were the shows, because all the shows are indoors. Well, I should say almost all the shows, because there is one outdoor show that's new this year. That's kind of like an opening ceremony thing that they didn't do. But all the indoor shows and 4 of the 7 houses were open. So none of the scare zones, just just the shows and 4 houses. Now, thankfully, all the new houses this year are indoors. So I was able to hit all 3 of the new houses this year, including one of them being Vault 20. So this is the 20th anniversary of Busch Gardens Williamsburg Howl-o-Scream event. And that was like, if you remember the 25th anniversary Jack House, or the haunted, or the Halloween Horror Nights, I think it was the Hollowed Past that they did for HHN 20, or for HHN 20. It's basically like a walk through the best scenes and characters and things, in this case of Howl-o-Scream Past. And so they featured like Mr. Carver from a couple years back. You got Scarlet. You had the Jack, the original icon of Howl-o-Scream. Like all the previous icons for Williamsburg showed up. It was a really, really well done house. I really liked it. Some callbacks to previous rooms from previous houses. Really loved that one. And hopefully, at some point throughout the season, I'll try to get a view of it with the lights on, so I can see some of the Easter eggs that are in there. They also have Dystopia, which is kind of like it's a kind of a post-apocalyptic type warehouse construction type thing. That one was really intense. Really like that. And the other new house was Demented Dimensions, which is the we talked about this, was previously in Tampa, brought over to Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I didn't care for it. I think the story of it was just lost on me. It just seemed kind of generic. Here's all the things you would expect to see in random haunted houses. And I get that was the point. Like, it's supposedly different dimensions that you're seeing, but I don't know. That house didn't necessarily work for me.
I take it as kind of like a Twilight Zone house, because that's kind of the way it was presented here, at least.
Yeah.
Like you were going.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for it that much. And the other house that was open was Frostbite, which was returning from last year, which is kind of like an ice fortress. It's kind of like if you took the White Walkers from Game of Thrones and made a haunted house out of them, because that's essentially the premise of the house. And so this year they changed it from previous years, or from last year. A little bit better. Still not my favorite house, but I really loved Vault. I really loved Dystopia. And one of the things that I liked about these houses, in 2 of the houses last night, they actually split your group. So you walk into a room and they'll point at you and say, you go this way, and they'll point at the person behind you and they'll say, you go this way, or they'll split it every couple people. I think that helps with maybe line flow through the houses, so that it's not just a straight conga line. But in addition, it also kind of encourages you to get repeat visits, because there's different experiences depending on which path you take through the house. And that actually happened, I think, 3 times last night, 2 times in Dystopia and 1 time in Frostbite. And I really liked that. I really like that. Oh, well, I wonder what's down that other hallway. I want to see that. I want to go back and see that. So, I will definitely be visiting the event when it's fully operational. I want to see all the new scare zones, and get the full Howl-o-Scream experience. So I'm going to try to check it out at least once or twice more this season.
Yeah, they did that splitting up thing at Busch Gardens, Tampa last year with I can't remember the name of the house. It was like themed after the game show house.
Yeah, it looked like a carnival tent.
Yeah, and it did not work very well. Let me tell you, nobody knew where they were going, and it just. I took it as kind of like disastrous, it's like people that were turning back around and trying to go the other way because they didn't know where to go. And, hopefully it works better by you. I don't think that there was necessarily different things to see either direction either, because I kind of got the impression that it was kind of mirror imaged.
Yeah, well, and it's possible. I only went through each house once. Obviously with there being an abbreviated event, some of the lines were pretty long. So I didn't actually get a chance to go through anything more than once, but I'll let you know after my second visit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to know. And the same thing with I need to know how Cornered is and Lumberhack. And
those are good houses.
We were joking around before we started talking officially on air here, that the house names in Busch Gardens Williamsburg are just amazing. Lumberhack. I think if I was having a couple of cocktails, I would be in stitches on the floor laughing about the names of these things.
I don't know. I thought that great. Slaughter Cinema had good names.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Peace, baby.
Shitty's Kids.
Yeah.
What was it like? Swamp Beauty, Pumpkin Goods. It's like...
Yeah. Lumberhack. I love Lumberhack.
Lumberhack is fun, too.
I'm stuck on Lumberhack.
And
I've literally been thinking about Lumberhack all day. That I had to pull up the site before while we were talking. So I'm stuck on that name.
Unfortunately, Lumberhack was one of the outdoor houses. I wasn't able to see it.
I'm dead over the whole thing. But this weekend, for at least the Cheap Seats household, we're heading to our version of Howl-o-Scream also. So we're not doing the media event on Friday. These media event things don't work out for us time-wise. They just don't. And they're doing the media thing on Friday. And Friday we're going to see our friends over at Screamageddon. So it's kind of funny. We spent 3 days at Halloween Horror Nights, and as far as streets and atmosphere go, I don't know if it was necessarily the most scary event with Halloween Horror Nights. The houses certainly can be scary, but I am looking forward to really getting the crap scared out of me this weekend, because I think Screamageddon is one of the scarier events that we have, I'd say in the Central Florida area, and Howl-o-Scream, the zones are some of the scariest that you see anywhere. It's pitch black. You have no idea what's coming up next. But Howl-o-Scream, I'm very much looking forward to going through Insomnia as a new house, and Simon Slaughterhouse, and we've had a couple of folks already kind of message us to look out for those houses this week. So I know we have a fairly large target on our backs, and I'm really looking forward to getting out there. The funny thing about Howl-o-Scream in Tampa, it's down to 6 houses for this year. And as you mentioned about Demented Dimensions, I think they literally sent that on a truck up the highway to you guys. And we're left with 6 houses, but they are, I don't know about the 2 new houses, but the 4 remaining houses are kind of the best of the crop of what they had. Motel Hell, Unearthed, Deathwater Bayou, and the Black Spot. And I can't wait to get back to those houses, especially Motel Hell. To me, consistently, one of my favorite houses in the last 2 years going through there. It's been amazing. And they have new scare zones this year. So they have a Maniac Midway, Camp DOA, Deadly Toys, from the pictures on the website, it looks absolutely terrifying. Hell on Wheels, and what I'm really looking forward to, Scare Zone wise, is the Day of the Dead Scare Zone. So it's kind of hyping it up that it's like a little mini parade to honor the dead that have gone before us. So I'm looking forward to that. And one thing that we didn't do last year, we only did the bumper cars with zombies, but they added the zombies to or other scare characters to the other rides that are open during the event. So I'm looking forward to getting back to Cobra's Curse and getting on that ride, hopefully with some baddies. That's going to be pretty awesome.
I did that last year on was it Cheetah Run?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it with the zombie. Yeah, right on the ride too. No, it's weird. It was random because I was by myself and they kind of just put her in there with me, and she kept like screaming right at the launches, like right in my ear, and then just kind of like awkwardly staring at me the entire time, and it wasn't anything I signed up for, so
looking forward to that. But before we get to Howl-o-Scream, we get to Screamageddon, and they've got a Rage 3D house this year that's new, so I'm imagining that they're just repurposing the clown house that they've had in prior years, which has worked really well 3D-wise. As far as 3D houses go, I thought that was one of the best that we've ever been in, so looking to see what they do with that. And they have another house this year called Demon's Revenge that's new. So I have to imagine that maybe that house is being built over where the
cabins.
Well, I was thinking more that could be. Oh no, they still have dead woods. So I was thinking they don't mention the hayride anymore. So I'm guessing space is being used for where the hayride was.
Oh no, because that was like the best thing there.
Yeah, it looks like it's gone.
Wait a minute. I'm looking at it. So Rage, what's this pumpkin or zombie paintball assault?
Yeah, so they've had zombie paintball the last 2 years, and I think that they've expanded that this year. So maybe that's being used where the hayride was, or splitting that between Demon's Revenge and zombie paintball. That's been a lot of fun, where you pay for paintballs and shoot the zombies. And we've had that on video for the last couple of years. But Blackpool Prison is back, and Infected Ground Zero is back. Some of these trails, and I'm not sure if it's going to apply for Demon's Revenge or Rage, but at least with Blackpool and Infected, you can go through them and wear a necklace that glows that allows the actors to physically manhandle you. So they will touch you. This is not like a light flag football or touch football type thing. Like in Blackpool Prison, they've thrown me up against the wall and kind of ripped at my beard and stuff. And Infected last year, they took Mary and laid her down on a table and put her in a body bag and zipped the body bag over her head. So it's a little bit more on the terrifying side than what you'd expect, going through a house with 30 Michael Myers inside of it. It's a legit scary event. And I never have not left that event the last 2 years and saying, like, man, things could have been better. Like, it is awesome. And actually, the one thing about Howl-o-Scream this year, we're not doing the Fright Fest thing. I'm at the Fright Feast. If that's the thing, right? Is that a thing?
It's a thing.
Fright Feast? Yeah, it is Fright Feast. Last year we didn't have a really good time at the show that they had there, and they haven't announced what the show is for this year, so that's kind of a skip. But we are going to do the skip the lines type of package. And again, for Howl-o-Scream, I mean, the prices for tickets were, at one point for pass holders, it was like $20 for a ticket to get into Howl-o-Scream. I mean, and now I believe it's $39 to get in for the event. You can't beat those prices. And Howl-o-Scream, to me, again, if that event was closer to me than it is now, I would be there probably more often than I go to Halloween Horror Nights. It's just sad but true. It is a scary event. Anyway, that's the immediate plans for Haunts. And then, forecasting further into the Cheap Seats calendar, at least, we're looking at Atlanta to get up to Netherworld and Six Flags. And that's either the following weekend or the weekend after. So trying to plan it out. By the way, what you should do, number one tip for any of these places that you go to, is bring a super comfortable pair of shoes. So I've put that out there many times in the past, and I didn't follow my own rules for Friday night at Halloween Horror Nights, and wore a brand new pair of sneakers that completely ripped my feet apart for 9.5 miles of walking.
Oof.
So
Yeah.
that was the scariest thing of that event, besides the crowds and the heat. So,
Well,
I think that's been a lot.
yeah, this was a jam-packed show. This is what happens when we don't record for a couple weeks. But if you, I'm just looking at Twitter still. If you are a fan of this show, you're likely a fan of the Haunted Mansion, like we are. And if you come to this show via my channel, you may also be a Funko fan, and it is unlikely we are going to record before September 22nd. So wanted to let you guys know that there is a limited edition Haunted Mansion Hitchhiking Ghost Funko Pop vinyl coming to Disney World on September 22nd. Get to and mail me one.
It's on Saturday? Oh, God.
Is it this Saturday that it goes on sale, you said?
Yeah,
September 22nd. It's going to be available at the Pin Traders store. It'll be available in other places as well. And it'll likely... there will likely be a line at first, but then it'll be readily available, just like the Splash Mountain and Tiki Room ones. So you don't have to get it first day. But that's when it comes out.
Get it.
Yeah,
10 per person. It's $40 too for one pop.
It is, but it's a sweet looking pop.
I know, but still.
All right, Kyle, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
No, I'm looking forward to maybe getting a couple of hours of sleep.
Yes.
Well, before we wrap up, make sure you guys hit us up on Twitter at 4Hauntsmen, or is it the 4Hauntsmen? It is at 4Hauntsmen, F-O-U-R, spelled out. Leave us feedback on this week's episode. If you're listening to this on YouTube, leave us feedback in the comments down below. And thank you guys for checking us out.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Easter Bunny.